In the next hour, we want to put a smile on your face, elevate your endorphins, and bring you happiness. Welcome to Say Yes, Be Happy with Nathalie Botros. We spend so much of our lives chasing happiness. It might just be where you least expect it to be. Nathalie and her guests are going to show you how and where to find it. And now, your host, Nathalie Botros.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Nathalie Botros, your host, the Bon-Vivant girl and the self-proclaimed happiness fairy. This show is all about spreading happiness and finding the positive in our lives. And I'm going to have each week different guests, and we're going to all talk about how to find the silver lining in our lives. Today, I'm going to have 3 guests, but before introducing them, as it's my first show, I want to start introducing myself. So as I said, I'm Nathalie Botros, the Bon-Vivant girl and self-proclaimed happiness fairy. I'm a psychotherapist, a health coach, and an author. I was born in Lebanon. I lived in Turkey until the age of 10 when my parents sent me to Switzerland in a boarding school to have the better education. And I decided to stay in Switzerland and to start my life there and start working there. Everything was fine. I had, the perfect cut life. I did everything correctly. I was just happy until the day I felt that something was missing in my life. You know, that feeling that you have, that gut feeling that you're saying, okay, I have it all. I shouldn't be ungrateful, but I'm not happy. There is an unsatisfaction. So I started to look around and say, what can I do? Because at the end of the day, I had the job, I had the family, the friends, the boyfriend, even the body. And I decided to make a huge change out of my life. And I said, maybe I should chase this feeling of happiness. And it was basically the beginning of my chase for happiness. My first action was to close my life in Switzerland and to move to Milan and to start living there. At the beginning, it was amazing. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the good pasta and everything that came with Italy. I enjoyed the Italian man as well. And I learned the language. Everything was fun. I was working in fashion. I mean, what can I expect more, right? It came to a point where I was like, there's still something missing. I know I can sound like a brat, I have it all and then I'm still missing. But I said, maybe I should do a bigger change in my life. So I decided to move across the Atlantic and came to New York, where I live today. New York, exciting city. The city that never sleeps. I almost never sleep, so we're a good match. It was a bless to start with. But what happened is that, I don't know, call it with the fast food, or I don't know what is it, or the food service, the food deliveries. In less than a year, I gained 40 pounds. I mean, for some, maybe it's not a lot, but for me, it was a huge change. And then I suddenly started hating myself. I mean, every woman, we gain weight, we lose weight, we struggle with that, we do this diet and that diet. But when you gain 40 pounds and being myself and my personality, it became it became an obsession for me. I was I dedicated my life to lose this weight. So I started this pattern on trying every single diet that was out there. And believe me, I tried really, really fat diets and really horrible diets. And then what was happening? I was maybe losing weight a little bit at the beginning, and then I will it will stop and I will gain even more. But the thing that I was really losing, it was not weight, it was my joy of life. And I really hit the rock bottom. I was living in this amazing city, one of the most exciting cities in the world, stuck at home, hating everything and everyone, living on my 3 carrots or the last crazy diet. And I said, I have to stop this insanity. Actually, hitting the rock bottom kind of was a revelation. As I always say to my clients, if you hit the rock bottom, there's only one way, up. So I was okay, let me find this way up. And I got saved by this amazing show that I saw. It's How to Love Yourself Naked, where they will teach women how to love their body. And then at the end of the day, they will put their naked picture on Times Square in a billboard. And then the people passing by will check and say, wow, actually, you look good. So it will build up the self-esteem of the woman. I didn't get on the show. I didn't get on a billboard naked, but I did my home version of it. I started standing in front of a mirror and starting to love myself. It was the day that the Bon-Vivant girl is born, because looking at myself every day, I was forcing myself to love one part of my body. And with time, that part was like, at the beginning, it was hard, but with time, it was getting easier and easier. And slowly, I started to love myself the way I was. I accepted my weight and everything that goes with it. And I started to gain my joy. And actually, people were like even asking me, did you lose weight? End of the story. I started losing weight as well. So I really focused on my primary food, which was my life, my self-love. And then I focused on my food. So this is a little bit about my story. And those days I struggled a lot. And then when I found this happiness, I said, you have to spread this happiness to everyone around you. And it's why I call myself your happiness fairy, because my mission is to spread happiness on all of you. And I do it in different ways. I have my book, which is If You Are What You Eat, Should I Eat a Skinny Girl, which is basically a book that tells you ways to lose weight without losing your appetite of life. I have also my online course, which is Hungry for Happy. It's created for those amazing goddesses, women who kind of cannot find their happiness because of their body issues or their relationship status, especially my single ladies. I spread my happiness via my one-on-one coaching with my clients. And most importantly, I spread my happiness through my social media, where I motivate people and I help everyone to be happy and to have a smile. And then finally, this amazing podcast with Voice America, where my mission is going to be to have guests every week and to discuss with them facts of life, of our daily life, how we can turn that little switch from negative to positive, where we can unleash everything that we want. So today, I have 3 guests. And my guests are very special because they are all my guests. They're all my friends. And we want to talk about it is never too late. I know that we all want to start stuff, and then like we all are happy in our comfort zone because it's safe and it's like easy. But what if our happiness is outside this comfort zone? My 3 guests decided to get out there, take the risk, and they succeeded. Enough about me. Let me start introducing to you my guests. Let me put my first guest.
Hi.
Hi. So my first guest decided to go back to school after she turned 40, but not to any school. She decided to attend Columbia University, one of the top Ivy League schools. Born in Turkey, she lived most of her life in Switzerland, where she graduated from college and hotel school and started her professional career. By the way, I know that our story is similar, just in case she's my sister. While working her corporate job, she always searched for a creative outlet within her passion, food and art. At first, she created Taste Me, where she would put the food that she loved in jars and compose baskets filled with homemade fresh products. Then she created Kristine, where she customized basic peştemals, which are like Turkish towels, bath towels, into fashion pieces with different beading and design stitches. Following her passion for creativity, her brand expanded also in backstraps, book page markers, napkin rings, and finally the fashionable mask that we all are kind of hating to wear but have to wear. After she turned 40, she decided to reinvent herself, left her trade finance job in Credit Suisse, Switzerland, and moved to New York to start all over again. She attended Columbia University, and guess what? She didn't just finish it. She graduated magna cum laude with honors in art history. Today, she is a graduate student at Sotheby's Institute of Art in London. And actually, she's streaming live from London. Hello, London. And there's something else about my guest that I already told you. She's not only an aspiration for people who wants to go back to their studies in their after their 40s, but she's my best friend. She's my sister, and she's the most important person in my life. Welcome, Kristine.
Hi, everyone.
So, how is everything in London?
Well, it's raining.
I heard that it always rains in London, right?
Yeah. But when I arrived, I was in quarantine and the weather was so beautiful, and I got out of quarantine and it started raining. It's raining. It's there are hail and raining, and it's not nonstop. So
I
yeah,
can imagine. You should come back to New York. We
yeah,
have the sun all the time, even if it's cold sometimes.
Yeah.
So, Kristine, I have to ask you for our listeners, what triggered you? What made you like want to change all this? Because it's a huge change. You had your banking job, and then you're like, okay, I want to go back to studies.
yeah. Because, well, the answer is quite simple. I was unhappy. I would go into my car every morning going to work, and I would have back pain. And when I'm unhappy in general, I have back pain. So at some point, and it wasn't about the job, because I loved my job. I loved the people with whom I was working. It wasn't anything about that. And then you start to realize that it's you. It has nothing to do with what's happening around, but it's you. And that's when I realized that I had to make a change, because I always liked creating and I always liked arts, and yeah, I wanted to learn more. So I started looking universities, and I ended up at Columbia. Well, they accepted me, so I ended up at Columbia.
But I mean, was there a reason why Columbia and not any other school? Like, was there like a process like to choose?
Well, yes and no, because what I did at first, I wanted to leave Switzerland, because I've been there for like 30, 25 years, and I needed to get out of Geneva. And so I started looking at universities all over Europe. In Italy, I even went to international university fair in Paris. I searched for schools in Italy, in Paris, in London, a bit everywhere. And well, New York, I was looking into New York because you were there, but I couldn't find any university that would accept me, because I already had too many diplomas, so it was a problem, and I wanted to do an undergraduate. And I was talking with my cousin's wife, our cousin's wife, and she told me, Columbia has this program that's for people who are a bit different, who don't follow the regular line. And yeah, he said that's the general studies. If any of you who are listening are interested, it's called General Studies at Columbia, and just look at it. It's funny, because at the beginning, when I was looking for universities, I just went on the website of Columbia, and I was like, oh, it's beautiful, and just shut it down, because I was like, I'm never going to be accepted at Columbia. So then when I started searching this program called the General Studies, and I decided to apply, and I was accepted. Well, when you're accepted to Columbia, you don't refuse, you go. So
Of course, obviously. And I mean, like you said that you did all those studies before. So what was the difference between studying when you were in your 20s and studying when you're in your 40s?
well, studying, when I first started my BA in Geneva, I had to learn English first. And I had this guy who was learning English as well. He was in his 40s, and he told me, I always thought, oh my God, he's not very bright because he doesn't get it. And he told me, honey, whatever you can learn when you're in your 20s, because in your 40s, it doesn't work that well. And he was right. It's not that, yeah, of course, there are a lot of people smarter than you out there, whatever. But when in your 40s, your brain goes a bit slower. When they get it in a second, you get it in 5 minutes. So that's the difference. But on the other side, you do it because you want to, not because your parents are pushing you, or not because you have to go out and get a job or whatever. You're doing it because it's your passion, and you're loving it. So yeah, I would say that's the two big main differences between 20s and 40s.
I mean, I know that, like, I personally know that you spend your years in New York at the library or at the Met Museum studying. So was that okay? It was like, did you think that you missed, like, actually, 40s are best years, or it's the best years of our life? Do you think that you missed something out?
Well, Probably yes and no. Yeah, of course, I could have partied more in New York, but I love doing what I was doing, so I was happy. So yeah, I could have partied more in New York, that's for sure.
And then like you wanted to do, and then like COVID came, and then like you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, last semester was supposed to be where I just had two classes and I was gonna party, do all the things, and then COVID started. So yeah.
Question. So you talked about you always found something on the side to express your creativity. It was Taste Me first, and then now it's Kristin.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about Kristin, if we can find it, like if people wants to get some of the product, what they should do, and then like what is like your story with Kristin?
Well, I always like creating. I always like working with my hands, and to see the end product, that makes me happy. When I see it, I'm like, oh, wow, that's good, or no, and then that's not good, whatever. And I can change it, and then I have an idea in my head, and the fact that I can because I have this image in my head, and the fact that I can put it in objects and create it, that's a great feeling for me. I mean, I love it when I have this, and it's working because I have this mechanism in my head, and then it's working. I love that. If you want to get Kristin products, just on my Instagram, go and let me know what you want, what you like, which color, how, blah blah blah, and then then we can discuss after that. But otherwise, it's really, I don't sell it. I don't sell them in stores because every piece takes me so much time and so much energy, and I don't want to do something industrial where I do like one image repeated 10 times in different colors. For me, each piece is different. So yeah.
Okay. I see that we have 2 minutes left before the first break. So your Instagram account, it's like under your name, it's Kristine Botros.
Exactly, Kristine Botros.
And if people want to purchase or are interested, they can just send you direct messages.
Exactly. That will be key. Yeah.
Great. So let's go back before the break to what is next for you. I mean, like now you're like, wait, now you're in like London, you're doing master's degree. Are you going to stop studying at some time and then like party with me and enjoy everything that I do?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I wasn't even intending to do a master's degree, but I was told that if I want to have any kind of job in art world, I have to have a master's. So normally I have a dissertation coming up in August and I have to finish it in December, and then I have no idea. We'll see. I want to go to Italy for a year and just tour the cities, go visit all the places that I've learned about, and plus I'm also taking Italian classes now, start speaking Italian at some point. That will be great.
Oh, that's great.
COVID teach taught me that I just need to let it go, as you always say, and just make it happen, to be happy.
That's perfect. So we're about in 30 seconds, we're going to get into our break. And after the break, I will take Kristine. We'll continue talking with Kristine. And if in the meantime, you want to ask questions or, you have any questions for her or any other guest, you can call toll-free number 1-866-472-5788 or international 001-480-398-1394. And someone will take care of you and put you through, and you can ask your question to Kristine, to me, or to any other guests.
You're listening to Say Yes, Be Happy. To reach our show today, we invite you to phone in to 1-866-472-5788. That's 1-866-472-5788. Or send an email to bvg@thebon-vivantgirl.com. Now, back to Say Yes, Be Happy.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Say Yes, Be Happy podcast. I'm your host, Nathalie Botros, the Bon-Vivant girl and the happiness fairy. We're talking with Kristine, my sister, in case you didn't catch that, who decided to go back to school, but not any school, Columbia University, after she was 40. And we were talking with Kristine, the challenges to go back to school after she was, like the difference between returning to school when she was 20 and 40. And now I want to know if, Kristine, if someone wants to know what they should do, like if you want to give an advice to people, would you advise to our listeners if they want to go back to school? I mean, like maybe everybody doesn't want to go to Columbia, an Ivy League school, but, like go back to studies because like it's a big jump.
Yeah, it's a big job. It's funny because most people are telling me, I'm so impressed. I couldn't do it if I were 40 at your age, I can't do it, whatever. But I think that if you really want to do it, you should just start with small things, like just take a class for a week, for 2 weeks, wherever you are. They're offering in whatever department. Let's say you want to do art, okay, you want to do language, okay, you can find it. And especially now with COVID, most schools are giving online classes, so it's even easier. If you're stressed, because a lot of people are like, oh, what are people going to think about me, blah blah blah, and which is kind of intimidating because from my experience, I go to a class, everyone is 20. They look at me as if I'm their mom because I have the age of their mom, and they tell me, you can be my mom, you're the same age like my mom. And then it's funny because they have this look because I stress like them for exams, for papers, for whatever, and I'm kind of in the same level, but then I'm really not. So it's challenging in that sense, but you shouldn't be intimidated. Just start small, probably. That's what I would say. Start small, see how you feel, and then try to apply. But whoever you are, if you pause your studies, I'm on the side of studies all the time, of knowledge all the time. If you pause your studies when in your 20s because you had to work, if you have the opportunity, even doing night classes, finish your degree. Whatever you do, finish your degree. Try to finish your degree. Even if you're taking one class per semester, even if it's going to take you 4 years to finish it, that's something that you should absolutely do. And you feel so proud of yourself afterwards. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, like, again, congratulations. Like, you're like, I'm impressed. I'm impressed every day by you. So, my podcast name is Say Yes, Be Happy. And I have to ask you before I say goodbye, what makes you happy today?
Well, what makes me happy is my family and my friends and creating all the time. And hopefully being able to see all the wonderful places that I learned about and experience them in person. That will make me very happy after when I finish with my dissertation, when I'm done with my dissertation, because I can't do anything else while I'm doing the dissertation, probably.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, sis.
Thank you.
I mean, like, it's normal that I'm going to have my sister on my first podcast. Come on, like you share everything in life with me. And kisses, and then I'll talk to you later.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
So my second guest, he reinvented himself after 40 as well. Professionally, he moved from a women's couture design company to men tie and jewelry company. His pieces are sold all around the world. On a personal level, he met his significant other after 40, and they're still together after 15 years. Born and raised outside of Boston, he graduated from Newhouse School of Communication at Syracuse University with a BA in film and advertising design. He began his career as an assistant director in the film industry in LA. He then co-created John Valdi Couture, a women couture line that was based between Los Angeles and New York. He launched his company, Title of Work, in 2011, where he uses the tie as a canvas, fusing traditional craftsmanship with progressive design. Today, Title of Work is sold worldwide and the brand developed. It doesn't only offer incredible neckwear, but also jewelry for men and women, as well as home goods. My guest shows us that it's never too late in life. He was always a star, but shined a little brighter and happier after he turned 40. Please welcome one of my closest friends and aspiration, Jonathan Meisler.
That's so sweet.
How are you, love?
I'm very good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So I want to know, what made you start Title of Work? Like, what was your inspiration?
I think that everyone's career has a certain trajectory, and I was, my background is in art. art history. And then I went into film, obviously, when I was in college. After that, I went to LA, was in film there. And then I fell into fashion sort of backwards. I started a collection, hand painting silks. It actually morphed into a full men's collection, then a women's sportswear collection, then a women's evening collection. So it kept on growing. I was with a partner at the time and was in LA, going by coastal LA to New York. Ultimately, I settled in New York and we started a couture collection that was retailing at Bergdorf Goodman. And that's where I met you, actually.
Exactly. Actually, I worked for Jonathan. When I moved to New York, my first job was as an intern at Jonathan. But I spent my time chit-chatting with him, basically.
All we did was talk. I think all we were doing is I think we just like talked and we were sort of like, attacking each other a lot. In good ways.
Exactly. It was my angry days.
And eating a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Always eating. But anyway, so from there, I wanted to, I wasn't satisfied at the time. Not that I wasn't satisfied. My creative journey, I felt wasn't realized as of, at that point. I split with my partner of 18 years at the time of business. And I wanted to go back into the art world. And from there, I'm like, okay, looking at the market, I wanted to, from art world to men's fashion, I wanted to go back into men's as well. And I decided to fuse the two worlds together. And that's how Title of Work was born. It's literally a fusion of art and fashion.
So it was hard, it was different, because your first company, you started young and then restarting after 40, it's it has some challenges. Were you scared? What were the advantages and disadvantages, let's say?
I always say you never, people who actually just start their company, they don't know anything. It's actually, they have no idea the rules. So they just break the rules and they live and learn and they figure out how to, it's by trial and error. And that's how, John Valdi was. It was all trial and error. As you get older, hopefully you don't make the same mistakes, because we made a lot of mistakes back then, financial mistakes, design mistakes. There's a lot of stories. But when I started, Title of Work, I really was very focused on trying to understanding a market that I wanted to hit, finding a white space in the market, and having the background and knowledge and understanding of how to develop a full luxury collection. So I think that the wisdom and the knowledge of age definitely helped.
Yeah, I think it's I always say, people are scared to start over because they're I'm too old for it, it's too late for me. But actually, no, you have the experience. And then even if you're scared of failing, well, guess what? Failing will teach you a lesson. And then you can come back. Actually, I think it should be one of the prerequisites to succeed. You have to fail first.
Absolutely. And I think there are a lot of very, very successful people that have failed first. And
of course.
I mean, and I agree with you. They start, they stop, they start, they fall backwards. It's 2 steps forwards, 5 steps backwards. And they still do that, in business. It's very challenging just because of everything. The world is morphing, what we did last year, how to reinvent yourself, how to actually move on from, this huge pandemic that we're just involved with. And thankfully, we're still here. But it's
exactly. I mean, your ties, it's they're amazing. These ties are piece of art. Yeah. And then therefore, being outside, people don't wear those ties to be home. So how did you adjust during COVID, where everybody was stuck home? You had to find a way to.
Well, honestly, we were dead in the water for a few months. Who wants to wear a tie in a pandemic? I mean, jewelry, okay, but still, no one knew. Everyone was trying to find their footing. And at the time, I'm like, what can I say? And I have a lot, I have quite a few people on my team that I wanted them to actually be able to sustain themselves. So we quickly shifted and pivoted to creating face masks. We still do the face mask to this day. They do very well. It's more of a fashion face mask. It's made with the couture techniques of the tie, where it's beaded, embroidered, and painted as well. So they're very interesting, and that actually got us, quite a few months through the pandemic. Yeah.
Oh, and then you did some home goods as well?
So interesting story. Yeah. During the pandemic as well, I was starting a candle collection because I've always been obsessed with candles. Or not candles, but smell. Yeah. Since I was younger, I remember when I was 5 years old, my parents would always be like, Jonathan, why are you smelling everything? Why do you have to smell everything? And I'm I just would go around sniffing everything and Yeah. So I knew that it would come to play at some point in my life, and scent and, cologne, perfume, always been a big part of my life. Anyway, I said, this is a perfect time to actually develop a candle collection. Ironically, I have 5 scents. It's called the Dirty Scent Collection. So it's a deeper, darker sense of nature. During the 5th creation of the scent, I got COVID. My partner and I, and actually my whole family, got COVID together upstate. And I lost my sense of taste and smell while I was creating the candle collection, irony. And so the last scent, which was a wood scent, I was actually, I would have like 10 different fragrances, and I would put them in different parts of the apartment or your house. And I would have my partner go, smell that one. Okay, what does that smell like? Smell that one, smell that one. And he's like, enough. So ultimately, I got it back a little bit so I can understand where I was at.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it was really a big punishment for you to not be able to taste or smell, because we know that you're a foodie, and then the smell is very important for you. And that was but you survived again.
I survived. Here we are.
Exactly. With all our antibodies, we're good.
We're good.
So tell us, excuse me.
Double vaxxed.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. So where our listeners can find your beautiful products?
Best way to find us is titleofwork.com. And you just go on, you go on our website, sign up for our website, for our emails. We don't barrage you with them. We have just 2 emails every month. And you can do that. We also are, we're in Harrods. We sell our collection here at a store called The Conservatory. We're overseas in the Middle East. We're in Europe. But for the listeners here, or anyone, because we ship worldwide, titleofwork.com is the best place to get us.
So yes, everyone, www.titleofwork.com.
And check out the women's jewelry collection. That's a new piece that we just launched as well.
And it's beautiful. I have to come and get mine because I get every new collection, I have to get something. Even for men's, I have to get mine.
That's how it started with the women's. The launch of the women's came from the men's. So a lot of women came in, they were buying the men's collection. And I'm like, okay, it's time to start the women's. So everything was an organic growth.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So let's talk about your personal life. You met your significant other after 40, and then it's been 15 years. I remember the day that you met him, actually. 15 years. So what is the secret?
Ta-da.
Well, yeah.
There are a lot of secrets. No, I think that, really it's about communication. Clearly, in any relationship, it's about communication and understanding how to actually define certain words that may trigger someone. Why does that word trigger you? Don't use it. And so really finding a foundation of communication was really key in any relationship. And you still have challenges through it. One word could mean one thing to someone, and it has so much, you have to unpack so much for another person. That's it. And I think really humor. Laughing you have to find humor every day. And the other one is not going to sleep angry. Don't hold a grudge. I think that's really what it's been about for us. And that's challenging, but I think that's what sustained us.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's really amazing.
He's also amazing as well. So that doesn't.
Yeah, I love him too. These are my boys. They're they're my family, actually. I told you guys, my first podcast is going to be all about me. It's very personal. It's why my guests, we're very personal, successful, but personal people too. And so if you want to advise, if you want to say one last word, what it will be?
One word, just if you want to cry, what's the alternative? Just laugh.
And towards reinventing yourself after 40?
I think that if you look at age as just a marker and not as a definition of who you are, that's really what's key for me. I look at every birthday as okay, this is where I am, and I tick it off, but it doesn't define who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't let it define who I am. I just, clearly I just, keep in shape, eat well, and this is your vessel. That's it. This is all you got. So, take care of it. And
keep the positive attitude.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if, my podcast name is Say Yes, Be Happy. So the last question is, what makes you happy? 2 minutes to answer before our break. Go.
That's a loaded question. You make me happy. No, but literally.
My food makes you happy.
I mean, there's so many things that like you have from materialistic things to emotional. My family, makes me very happy. My partner makes me very, like things like that on a day-to-day basis, creating, like the creative process makes me happy. Like I enjoy that process and that really helps sustain me. And I'm very fortunate that I have this passion of constantly creating one thing, going from, in developing, let's say, a tie to jewelry, to home, to lighting, to furniture design. That's actually pretty amazing for me. That makes me very happy. Day to day, biking in New York City. It's my meditation. I get all my ideas. I'm inspired. That makes me really happy. I'm eating.
We know that.
Makes me very happy, especially now that I can like taste. Makes me very happy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Beautiful friendships make me happy.
Yeah.
Really
yeah, it's true. Thank you so much, Jonathan. If anyone wants to check out his amazing neckwear, it's www.titleofwork.com, and you can find them also on social media. And voila, we're going to say goodbye to Jonathan and take our second break. And after, when we come back from our break, we're going to meet my third guest, who will prove you that you can be older than 40 and create a beautiful family. So bye, Jonathan. I'm going to turn you off and then bring in my next guest. Kisses, and then we'll talk later on.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Say Yes, Be Happy. To reach our show today, we invite you to phone in to 1-866-472-5788. That's 1-866-472-5788. Or send an email to bvg@thebon-vivantgirl.com. Now, back to Say Yes, Be Happy.
Welcome back, everyone, for my last segment. This is Nathalie Botros, your host, and you're listening Say Yes, Be Happy podcast. I have my third guest today. She is the proof, really the proof that you can have a family after 40. I know that all my single ladies are always scared. They're always saying like, oh, it's too late for me. And actually, she did it. She got married at 40, had a beautiful wedding with her longtime partner, and had two beautiful girls. So let me introduce my guest. She's born and raised in Tokyo by a Japanese father and Israeli mother. She was left solo at the age of 19 for college in California and never returned. She is working as a photography agent at one of the most renowned artist agencies in New York City. She loves to run, travel, and drink bubbles. Who doesn't? She was never happy, but was getting nervous about her biological clock. She didn't want to miss her chance to be a mother. Guess what? She got married at 40, had her first baby at 42, and the second one at 44. So ladies, she is the proof. It's never too late. Please welcome this rocking mama of two beautiful girls that I love to death. They're my spiritual goddaughters. Rika. Hi, Rika. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're very excited to have you. So, Rika, my God, like you're an amazing mixture. Japanese father and Israeli mother. Like this is like really amazing combination. How was it growing up like with the biracial family?
I think in retrospective, it was great to be exposed to two cultures. So you live in one kind of like a submissive culture. I grew up in Japan, but my mother was not, had a completely different, cultural background. So I think it gave me, tools to actually use two different cultures, not as a negative, but positive way. So, from a young age, I was able to kind of like see the good side and bad side of each.
Yeah.
And make different type of decisions than other children, I feel. So I've always been really curious about other side, other ways. So that's been kind of like my strength.
Yeah,
you have two different cultures. Yeah.
Exactly, because like you bring everything together. And then like you said that you were left in the US at the age of 19. So how was it like to be like so you came from Japan. You used to live in Japan and then you came here, right?
Yeah. So I came here by myself. I always wanted to get out of. I think I went to a different culture, live in a different culture, because I knew there's always the other side. So I didn't want to settle with this one thing I know. So usually, in Japan, like you go to college and you get married and you have a baby, and that's just kind of like a path. And I didn't think I was that. Somewhere in my mind, I knew it. So I said, I want to go somewhere, and live differently. And so that's also coming from the fact that I knew the other side of the culture and there's a different way of living.
Exactly. And so you have to talk to us about your family, your husband, because like your husband is American and he was your longtime partner. And then you guys decided to make it happen, like get married at 40. So how was it? Like, tell me a bit about it.
Yeah. So I met my husband. So this is my second marriage. And, I say that, it's worth a wait because you have to find the luckiest person for you to be beside you, no matter how old you are.
Yeah.
And I think I found the luckiest person. And we were dating for a long time. It took about like 7-8 years for us to get married. But that was good because, we enjoyed our time, traveled, did, all kinds of parties. And finally we got married. So, there's not much to that.
Exactly. No, that's great. And then, but you were pregnant after 40. I know that like, we're supposed to get pregnant younger. It's how our generation, we grew up. Like now the new generation, they don't even want kids at some point. But it's like, so how was it like being your pregnancy after 40? Was it hard? Like, do you think that you would have enjoyed more when you were younger, or like you actually enjoyed even better because like you were mature enough?
Well, I think that, there's a lot of like biological factors. And I think I find myself very lucky to be able to even get pregnant. That was one of my concerns. Like, okay, I'm older and that's what you hear about it. But my motto is I don't analyze it too much. Yeah. And I was lucky enough to be able to get pregnant. And it was a good pregnancy. I was healthy, active. I ran a half marathon while I was maybe 3.5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So
she's a rocking mom. I told you guys.
And the doctors, you're advanced maternal age, so they tell you all kinds of things, to be careful, and you hear all this. Yeah. But it really didn't feel like that.
Yeah. Okay,
I just didn't like. Another guest, that age is just a number, really.
Yeah, of course. And then, but.
Really true.
Yeah, it is true. And then like you're very healthy. You say you run the half marathon when you were 3.5 months pregnant. So like it shows that, it's not the age, it's just a number. It's like your lifestyle and how you take everything and then you decide to do it.
Yeah, I feel like the psyche will limit you. If you think, oh, I'm too old, and that's gonna make you feel this way, think this way, and somehow like you drive yourself to not to do it.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, makes sense. So now today we have the same age, 46. You're married, you have a job, full-time job. Especially during COVID, you were like stuck home with 2 little toddlers. So how do you balance all this?
That's a good question. I wonder if I'm balancing good enough. No, but I allow.
You're surviving. Come on, I will like go to the madhouse right now.
I allow myself to make mistakes, and also, it's really important to take care of yourself. So not to feel guilty about getting help, doing things for you, because that's important. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can take care of others.
Of course.
We say like, you have 3 children now because, two girls and the husband.
Exactly. And then like, scooped up all in an apartment. It's not very easy. It's like really, it's a lot. So you have to find like moments like to be alone. It must be a little challenging. And then I'm sure like when we're young, we have more the patience. I know myself that I love kids. I didn't have any at this time. It's like, I don't know. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but they also teach you, and I feel like I'm at the right age to have it, to be honest. If I was younger, I don't know if I had the patience. Yeah. I don't have a patience now, but better.
Yeah, great. So my last question is, as I asked to everyone, what makes you happy?
Obviously, my family, friends that, stay beside me and tells me right and wrong. These honest people really make me happy. I'm happy that I'm excited about life, the opportunities I have.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. Eating, drinking, being able to do things and all this health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bunny, to be
Thank you.
my baby bunnies, like big kisses. I miss them. And I'm going to set you free now because it's time for me to say my bye-bye blah blah.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
So, as you can see, all my 3 guests showed you a different way of being happy and saying yes to life, and then proving that it's never too late. If they had not done what they did, take the risk, Kristine would have never entered in Colombia. I mean, she told us, she checked the website and she was like, I can never get in, but she applied. So she made it happen. Jonathan, he completely switched his job, from women design to neckwear, and then now jewelry and house goods. And Rika, she's 40. I mean, some of the women, they say, I know a lot of my clients, they're always telling me, I'm too old, I cannot. I'm like, it's never too late. So for all of you out there, don't you think it's about time to say yes and to succeed and be happy? You have to find your way. And if you're scared to fail, it's okay. Failing, it's one of the steps to be successful. If you think that you're too old or you're it's too late for you, it's not true. Your age will bring you wisdom. Really, your age is actually an advantage for you because you have all that experience and you can use it in your new adventure. And I know that it's always hard to kind of, get in there. But what if, I have a question, what if your happiness, it's outside your comfort zone? What if drinking tea every day is not enough and you need to drink bubbles every day? What if you have to say yes to life and be happy? I told you that this first show was going to be about me because I wanted you to know me a little. And it's why I brought all these guests who are very close to me. So you have an idea who I am. And I have to say, they all said yes and they succeeded in life. And I think that if there's one thing that you should know is that people and things come and go. The only thing that stays, it's you. So instead of attaching your happiness to something or someone, you have to find it in yourself. And the minute that you find the happiness in you, everything else will come. I mean, my guest showed you it's never too late. I started to be happy after 40. I was kind of a lost puppy. I was going there and there. And then I found my way. I created the Bon-Vivant girl after 40. I became the happiness fairy when I was older than 40. So, and look, today I'm having my own podcast. So really, you have to think about how you want to live your life. And if you want to settle, or if you want to try to take the risk, because the risk is always, risky, but it can bring a lot of excitement. So today, it was our subject of this podcast today was it's never too late. But in the coming weeks, I will do different subjects, everything about our daily life and how to find the silver lining in our life, how to be happy, and how to find success in our lives. All my guests will be helping you and share their stories. And then we will show you that you have to say yes and be happy. And by the way, I can give you already a teaser for next week. My guest next week is going to talk about love. She's the love designer, Renee Piani, and she's going to join us and we're going to talk about rewriting our love life, our love story. She's going to really be a good addition to my podcast, I know, and we're going to have a blast. Until then, I think it's time for me to say goodbye. And thank you for spending this hour. I guess I survived my first podcast and you survived listening to me. I call it a success. And I always say, what do you have to lose? Say yes, be happy. Thank you, everyone, to listen to me, and have a wonderful day.